To Anambra State now, where residents of the Ezenifite community in Awka South local government area of the state are demanding justice for the murder of popular businessman Ifesinachi Onyekere, known as Fishmagnet. Onyekere was abducted and subsequently killed by gunmen despite a ransom payment. He was kidnapped from his residence on Saturday, July.
In Nigeria's northwest region, entire communities live in fear. Over the past decade, kidnapping for ransom has grown from isolated incidents into a full-blown crisis. This is also the epicenter of one of the most dangerous criminal enterprises in the country. And today we are diving deep into how it began, how it works, and the human cost it leaves behind. Now, before 2015, much of the violence here was about cattle rustling and clashes between farmers and herders. I discussed this in one of my previous videos, I think the Fulani Esment video, so feel free to go have a refresher. I'll leave a link to that video below. But as time went on, heavily armed gangs, locally called Bandit, began to realize that kidnapping people could bring in far more money than actually stealing livestock. And by 2018, kidnapping had become their main business. From late 2020 into 2021, the Northwest saw an explosion of mass adoptions, and hundreds of children were taken from schools in Katsina, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Kebbi State. I even discussed this in one of my previous videos as well. We also know about the Chibok girls case that sparked international outrage. Apart from the Chibok girls one, another one of the most infamous incidents happened in December 2020 when 344 boys were kidnapped overnight from a boarding school in Kankara. It became a blueprint for future attacks as well. We also have footages of gangs that use motorbikes for speed, AK-47s for intimidation, and remote forest camps to hide their captives. Although the government keep saying they don't know where these people stay, they don't know where they live, they don't know where they take their victims to, but we know that they normally stay in forest camps. They target villages, most especially highways and especially schools. Ransom demands can range from a few 100,000 to tens of millions of naira. Families sell land, they sell their livestock and even homes to save their loved ones. And sometimes, heartbreakingly, captives are killed even after ransom are paid. And in fact, we also saw a situation of this recently about how gunmen, although this is not in the north, but it happened, how gunmen killed Anambra businessman despite ransom payment. Now, this sparked outrage because VDM posted about it. He actually made several videos and sent VDM several DMs asking him to come pick up some of his fishes that he had that he had for VDM, just to celebrate him for his nice work. And news got to VDM that he had been kidnapped. Ransom was paid, but he was unfortunately killed. This is an article from the Punch news, and it says here some yet to be identified gunmen have killed a popular businessman Ifesinachi Onyekere, also known as Fishmagnet, despite the payment of an undisclosed amount for ransom. Now, this is heartbreaking because I went to his Instagram page and the man seemed to just be doing his business, minding his business. So why he was killed, we still do not know. And there are hundreds and hundreds of stories of survivors, but let's look at the one of Esther Joseph's 13-year-old daughter, who was kidnapped in 2021 and was taken in a mass school adoption in Kaduna. And to get her back, Esther sold nearly everything she owned, and with the help of her church, she raised 2 million naira, and her daughter was eventually returned home. But she still wakes up screaming from nightmares, and many other children never return to school because of this.
When her 13-year-old daughter, Precious Sim, was kidnapped from her high school in northern Nigeria in 2021, Esther Joseph says she went almost mad with anguish. She says her daughter still suffers from panic attacks.
Sometimes she sleeps, she will come hold me.
Sometimes she jerks up in her sleep and runs to hold me. She is scared of the light bulb. The fear seems to be reducing a little, but she gets agitated at any loud sound. If I shout at her, she gets scared, and it is because of the experience in the bush, like how they were shooting or treating them. She is still scared.
They shoot, how did they do? So the fear is there.
With Nigeria's economy and poverty levels worsening, abductions have become almost a daily occurrence in the country. They were first carried out by jihadist group Boko Haram a decade ago. But the tactic has since been adopted by criminal gangs without ideological affiliation, seeking ransom payments. And authorities seem unable to stop them. On March 7th, 286 students and school staff were kidnapped by gunmen in Kuriga, a town in Kaduna State. Local authorities told Reuters on Wednesday that they had demanded a total ransom of 1 billion naira, or just over $620,000, for their release.
To Anambra State now, where residents of the Ezenifite community in Awka South local government area of the state are demanding justice for the murder of popular businessman Ifesinachi Onyekere, known as Fishmagnet. Onyekere was abducted and subsequently killed by gunmen despite a ransom payment. He was kidnapped from his residence on Saturday, July 29th. The assailants, who reportedly arrived in an ash-colored SUV, shot him in the leg before fleeing with him in his own car. After 3 days in captivity, an undisclosed ransom was paid. However, instead of releasing him to his family, the kidnappers murdered him, and his lifeless body was found by the roadside. Onyekere's rise to fame was fueled by his advocacy and his love for fish. Well, here's his last known post on social media.
This fish industry, they're very broad, though, but most of them don't know. The best way to enjoy fish industry is to pick one area, focus on that. Come where they go. For fish industry, they get the hatchery. They also have pond construction. There is the processing, the choke. There is the feed formulation.
The Northwest economy is collapsing under the weight of this crisis, and farmers can't even work in their own fields without fear. Markets are closing early, investors are staying away, and over 700,000 people have been displaced. I mentioned this in my previous video as well. And thousands of children are now out of school, with entire villages choosing to keep kids at home rather than risk another attack. The government has deployed soldiers, launched air strikes, and even shut down telecom networks in parts of the region to disrupt bandits' communications. But Bandit group were officially declared terrorists in 2022. Some states tried negotiating peace deals, but most collapsed, as we know. And despite all efforts, the kidnappings are still continuing. Experts are warning that without a mix of strong security, economic opportunities, and community trust, the cycle will keep going on. And for many in the Northwest, the question isn't if another kidnapping will happen, but the question is when it will happen. So this is more than a security crisis. It's a human tragedy, and for the people of Nigeria's Northwest, it's a daily reality they cannot escape, at least not yet. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives, and tell me in the comment section, what do you think is the real solution to end this crisis? Thank you for watching today, and see you in the next video.